All right, welcome in everyone. We're very excited to get this session kicked off. Peter is going to walk us through part 2 of his webinar series of how you can utilize AI and AI based tools, the LLMs, and running your BDCs and helping you with your day-to-day. So, Peter, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. As we're going along, everyone, please put any questions you have in the Q&A or in the chat here on the Zoom. I know Peter wants it to be fairly interactive and make sure we answer questions and get some input on some of the prompts. So I'll kind of leave that to him and step in where needed. So Peter, take it away.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope you've been having a wonderful last 3 or 4 weeks, however long it's been since we've last met. I'm super excited to be here. I'm also really excited about today. This and the remaining 2 sessions after this will be, well, hopefully much more interactive. Otherwise, you'll get out of class early, which may not be a bad thing either. But I wanted to take a brief moment before we really get into the meat of today's context, just to review a short, I promise this won't be death by slide presentation, but just to review a few of the concepts. There are a few of you that were not in the last session. So if you were not in the last session, you'll have to go back and review that on YouTube or review the slide deck. And some of this will be new information to you today, but I'll do my best to explain things as we're going through, just for purposes of review for the folks that were here and also for folks that weren't here last time. So I'm going to share my screen here and we'll go through a few slides. And then the purpose of today is really to focus on training your agents, giving better content for your agents' calls, helping your agents handle rebuttals better, and then also to explore some kind of interesting functionality that's available within ChatGPT specifically for how you might use that for agent interaction, agent training, etc. So the review part of it. So last time we covered what is a prompt. So a prompt is the input text that you give to any AI system. Specifically, all of the GPTs, they use a prompt. There's even now jobs that their sole job is to translate business requirements into creating prompts for ChatGPT or Claude or Grok that are designed to specifically get information out of these LLMs for business purposes. So companies are actually hiring prompt engineers. And so the prompt is important because, again, like we said last time, most of the time people have the experience. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people is something like this. I tried that ChatGPT thing and it didn't work. So, and that is most of the time because people were using, in the next slide, either a lack of prompt patterns or a prompt pattern that we went through last time, which is called direct prompting. So again, these LLMs were designed with specific algorithms in the back, behind the scenes, that really require you to use some level of sophistication in order to exploit all of the power that is within them. And I just took a class this last week, and on AI, and the instructor in this class was talking about how we need to start thinking about AI less as technology and more as a labor force. And just like you can have incredible employees, but under bad management, those employees don't flourish. Similarly, with your LLM labor force, you can have an incredibly powerful tool at your disposal, or that labor force can be incredibly powerful and do amazing things. But with bad management, or in this case, bad prompting, the potential of that labor force is not realized to its fullest. And so again, a prompt pattern, these are systematic ways of gaining access to the code behind the code that the LLMs are using and that they were designed around, that exploit the algorithms behind the LLM to getting you the results that you want. So we went through a lot of prompt patterns. And at the end of the presentation last time, I shared a link that was put together by a number of professors of computer science and data science at a number of the schools. I will make sure that that is available as well in this class. Some of you sent out an email to me that you were having trouble downloading it. Maybe it's possible that at your networks, the content filtering might have been scrubbing it. But if you do have trouble getting that, or if you don't have it, it's it's a really good cure for insomnia. So if you have trouble falling asleep at night, definitely try reading it cover to cover. And I promise you will cure your insomnia. But two, there's a lot of really good information, more detail than I could ever provide by people far smarter than I am on this matter. But a prompt pattern really it's a cheat code. And there are different prompt patterns. We went through them, a number of them last time. And when we finished off, one of the things we talked about was one of the most powerful things you can do with an LLM is to use these prompt patterns in combination. And so before we get started with the walkthroughs today, and again, I want this to be very demonstrative and also very interactive. And we'll pause after each one to get ideas, feedback, etc. And maybe talk about some of the other ways you might use this in other applications. But just to review, today we're going to be using role prompting or the persona pattern. So this is where we're going to tell the M that you are someone. In this case, one of the cases, the first example, they're going to be just an expert call center appointment scheduler. So we're asking the LLM not to act as a computer, but act as someone who has all of the skills, expertise, knowledge, etc., to fulfill that persona. So again, the persona pattern, it's one of my favorite patterns, and it's also one of the first ones we'll be using today. Another prompt pattern that we will be using today is the gameplay pattern. So this one, I use this with my kids all the time in their schooling. I use it with employees sometimes. I've used it myself in order to learn new skills, etc. And this is where we're asking the LLM to effectively create a game. And this game can be multifaceted, and you can use it for many different things. And we'll share just a couple of examples of how you might use the gameplay pattern today. So Jake, I don't know if there are any questions so far before I really get into the exercises. Is there anything that's come up before we get started?
No, I think you should dive in.
Okay. So the agenda for today, and like I said, if no one has any fun zingers to go through, you'll get out of class early and maybe get some time back on your calendars. The first way that we suggest to all of our accounts, and that we've seen our accounts come up with some really clever ideas, is in drafting or modifying scripts. So all of you are using, or probably most of you are using word tracks in your BDCs today or in other parts of your dealership, maybe even your service advisor or your salespeople. But we've heard from a lot of our BDC managers, yeah, I put that script in when we first started our BDC, and I haven't changed it in 9 years. And maybe it is an oldie but a goodie, like that back section of your closets. But maybe the LLM could be a shortcut or an easy way for you to draft new scripts on a new subject matter. Maybe it's a new promotion that's come out. Maybe it's your annual buy 3 tires, get 1 free sale that you want to put a fresh spin on with maybe current events. Maybe it's specific. You've got a perfect Ford script, but you want to modify it for your other OEMs with content that is relevant to them. So that's the first thing we're going to go through, is how to give your scripts a refresh, or how to create brand new scripts from scratch, or come up with same album, different song on your scripts. The second one that we're going to be going through is drafting rebuttals. And so I've put together a list of some of the most common injections from all of our accounts. And we're going to see how the LLMs do on drafting rebuttals for those objections. Third one that we're going to go through is translating into other languages. So a large number of our accounts have BDCs that support multi-languages. And this would apply for both phone calls, SMSs, and emails, et cetera. But there are others of our BDCs that maybe don't have the breadth of agents that speak multiple languages or are fluent in other languages. And every once in a while, you get those customers that text you or email you in a language that your agent isn't familiar with. And so we've seen, and actually this is an upcoming feature that we'll be releasing in Volie in Q2 of 2025, in case you're watching this at some other point. Maybe it's already out there by the time you see this. But we're going to be introducing translations for SMS and emails in the communication center. But right now, you can use the LLM. The agents could use that. And in fact, when we go on site visits, it's not uncommon for us to see the agents that have Volie up on one screen, and then in a different window, they've got ChatGPT, and they're using it to draft emails, draft directions, instructions, et cetera, for their customers. And then the last thing that we'll go through is kind of pulling this all together. But we've seen ChatGPT and the other LLMs be an incredible training tool in getting agents up to speed faster, either whether it's a new agent, whether it's a new set of campaigns, whether it's a new OEM that you're being asked to support, or we've even seen it used very cleverly in if you're switching from one service scheduler to another service scheduler. And so we're going to create maybe one or two games that you might replicate in your BDCs for helping your agents get up to speed faster or train. And it's a good way, it's kind of an alternative to role playing. The agents can do it at their desks. They can also do it on their own free time. And so it's a great way of mimicking the benefits of role playing and gamification in your BDC. So with that said, I'm going to get started with the first one, which is drafting or modifying scripts. So I'm going to pull up just a basic script. So this was a script that we put together from a couple of our stores based on best practices. This is one of the scripts that usually our CS department will bake in with Volie. And this is a script that is trying to get the customer to come in and schedule an appointment for maintenance. So this might be 6+ months, maybe a lazy customer campaign. Who knows, maybe it's a TLE campaign, but this is a script that the agent is calling. And let's just say that maybe we want to give it a refresh. So again, we're going to take this and we'll use ChatGPT this morning. If that's not your flavor of choice for this particular exercise, it really doesn't matter. On some of our later exercises, we will be using some features that, at least at this time, are kind of unique to ChatGPT. So here we'll paste in, we will use our prompt here. So we're going to use the persona pattern, and we're going to tell ChatGPT what we want it to do with this script. So we're going to say, you are a call center expert. So here, you can read my typing, but we're telling it who it is. You're a call center expert, and you help people craft compelling scripts and word tracks to set appointments for their vehicle service. I'm asking it to refresh this script with an emphasis for Toyota and also an emphasis on setting the appointment. And so that is my prompt. And then I paste in the script. And so this is what it's generating. So I'm not an expert on the phone, as most of you can probably tell. But this is just a really simple way of refreshing the scripts. And then you'll notice at the end, it's asking, would you like a shorter version, a text email follow-up script, or a PDF version for printing your training? So it's already based on the persona that we passed in, it's already offering to do other things for us. So if we were to foreshadow maybe a later activity, we could say something like, please translate into Spanish. Jake, are you ready to test your Spanish here? Would you like to confirm that this did a good job?
It definitely nailed it.
So again, I'm sure that this isn't perfect. And I'm sure that for those of you who, Spanish is more native than me, which is 0. I'm sure that there are nuances and improvements that you could make for this. But wanted to highlight just such an easy way for those of you that are using multiple scripts in Volie or in some other BDC platform of your choice. This is be an easy way for you to at least get the ball rolling and getting your scripts populated. We can also do other things. So please. So again, in the name of keeping your scripts refreshed and current, this is going to use the same or similar script. Remember, we talked about last time that the LLMs are not deterministic. We went through the Mary Had a Little Lamb exercise, and it was not always the same. It's not necessarily the case that this will come out exactly the same either time. But we also asked it to add an emphasis for maybe our semi-annual tire promotion in this case. You could do the same thing when translating between the different OEMs. You could do the same thing if, maybe it's a winter weather special if you're up in the north, come in and look a multi-point inspection before the ice hits the roads in Minnesota, wherever it might be. But this is just a great and easy way for almost no time commitment to be able to use the LLMs to really give you a refreshed and updated set of scripts, and also to incorporate some of the intelligence within the LLMs for translation, etc. Well, Jake has lost video. We'll have him tag on any comments that are out there next. So just to pull up our agenda. Jake, were there any comments?
Yeah, we did have a question. Sorry, I was getting asked a question here. Someone did ask, how would you swap in and emphasize a specific manufacturer?
There's a few ways to do that. One of the really interesting things, in some of the LLMs don't have this capability, but others of them do. ChatGPT specifically has access to the current web. So we could do things like pull up our website if I'm a part of the Walzer Automotive Group, and I want to go into specials. And we can look through here, and here are the specials on your site. So we can do things like this. Holy smokes. So now ChatGPT, because it has access to the internet, is going out, it's looking at this site, and it's going to return the specials as part of this script into here. And as most of you saw, most of those specials were for lease specials or finance specials. If your website had service specials listed, it certainly has access to those as well. But you also, as part of the prompt, to come up with manufacturer relevant information based on current content on your website. You could also point it to the manufacturer's website. But this is a way for you to add in current information to your scripts very, very easily. And I didn't have to traverse my whole website to pick them out and copy and paste them. But I was able to just quickly tell it, hey, you know what, ChatGPT, you go look and you figure it out and come back to me with some suggestions. So I hope that gets to the heart of your question or answers your question. If not, feel free to comment back, and we'll do our best to get what you're looking for. Anything else, Jake, in the comments, or should I move on?
Nope, not at this moment. Let's keep rolling.
Okay, so this is one of the things, and when we go on site visits, so Jake and Scott are at one of our dealer groups in the Illinois area, Chicago area today. And whenever I go on a site visit, I'm constantly talking to the dealers about training, etc. And this is one of the things that comes up all the time is, how do I get my agents to have more of an agenda, to do a better job turning the customer's questions or the customer's objections back around and driving the conversation, not just taking a no right away. And so we're going to say that here's a section on helping ChatGPT, or sorry, having ChatGPT help us with dealing with those rebuttals. So prior to this call, I tabulated our most common objections that we hear. So one of the products that we rolled out recently at Volie is a product called Pulse, which is an AI-based call grader listener. But one of the things that we started collecting in the Pulse application is what customers are saying when they say no. And so this is a list of the things. This was for both inbound service appointment scheduling or outbound, again, that lazy customer retention, first service appointment, etc. So I already drafted the prompt. I was practicing on this over the weekend to get kind of a perfect prompt. And so this is what I came up with. So you'll have to forgive not having the entertainment of watching me type in with all my typos. So I will just paste this in. And again, remember, with any of these LLMs, they're aware of your previous conversation. In this case, I don't want it to be. I want to start from scratch. And so I'm going to paste this in. And just to review, we're using that persona pattern again. You are an expert at scheduling appointments for vehicle maintenance services. So again, we're telling it to assume the personality of someone who's just really, really good at this. And I'm going to list a series of objections for why customers do not want to schedule an appointment. And I want you to draft a rebuttal or a response for each of them. So I'm happy to send this list of rebuttals out if this is something that would be helpful to the group. But I'll just run the prompt here, and we'll see how it does. And again, it's been a long time since I answered the phone at a dealership, so you'll have to forgive me for being out of practice. But while these aren't perfect, and while they're probably not as good as your best agent, they are a great way for you to get started in having these LLMs be your labor force and go to work for you. So the first objection, I don't want to schedule right now. It's not a good time for me. Here's what I came up with. I totally understand. That's why we try to make it convenient. How about I pencil in a tentative appointment for next week, and we always adjust it closer to the date if things change. Sounds plausible. I think some of our dealers would be happy with that. I need to talk to someone else first. Of course. How about we go ahead and reserve a spot? And if plans change after your conversation, we can reschedule or cancel. No pressure at all. Again, redirecting that customer's conversation into, let's just get something on the calendar. Might not be perfect, but let's get something on the calendar and you can reschedule later. This was an interesting one. I'm only available on Saturdays to bring it in, and/or I want diagnostic work. So this is its recommendation for handling the Saturday diagnostic work. So again, it's driving to that appointment. Loaner vehicle, is this covered under warranty? So here's an opportunity, and we hear this on our call evaluations all the time at Volie. Our average across all of our accounts is that 24.8% of all of your inbound phone calls end up as a transfer. So this is a good way of trying to subvert that with the, is this going to be covered under warranty? And here again, we're driving them to the dealership, have a technician look at it, have a service advisor look at it, and they can let you know what's covered or not. Getting that on the books. Here, the customer specifically asks to speak with the advisor. Again, maybe they have a relationship, maybe it's that voice of trust, maybe it's just a way of not booking the appointment. But again, the agent is saying, I'll happily transfer you after we book the appointment. And then all of the rest of these, when I looked at them yesterday and went through this with our friends at ChatGPT, they look pretty good. I wouldn't say they're perfect. As I sit in our BDCs and I hear some of our best agents on the phone, they certainly do this naturally, or maybe they have practiced so much that they have practiced to do it naturally. But certainly you could do better. But this at least gets some points on the board and gives you something to go through and put in Volie, put in the whatever BDC solution that you're using for script and rebuttal management. And it's a great way for you to get content in there for those agents that are actually looking or needing it, especially during the training cycle. So again, super quick and easy rebuttals. If I wanted to take this a step further, maybe I would ask it to clarify some of these. Maybe I would pull up one of the objections and then do a deep dive on it with maybe some alternate word tracks. Those are all certainly things that you could do. We could translate it into another language, back and forth, etc. Maybe we could put in a specific objection about, whether it's a recall or they have to call parts and check with parts to make sure the parts are in. All of these things are things that you can incorporate that. We didn't go through this in the review, but that would be called the prompt refinement pattern, where you are effectively asking it to deep dive on a particular subject and refine it as many times as necessary in order for you to get what you're looking for. So that's how we might use the LLMs to help draft responses or rebuttals to our customers' objections. Jake, next one, or was there anything in there?
Nothing yet, but I think that this is awesome stuff. And one of the key things I think is to make sure that, however you're doing it, do some sort of rebuttal training for your agents. And, these can help you come up with the scripts and the prompts and such. But it is important to take some time and equip your teams with some of these things, because they are doing hard things. They get kind of beat up sometimes on the phones, right? So giving them these scripts and these tools and some of these word tracks can help them be more prepared, because it is pretty tough.
Okay, so for this next one, we're going to move over to Grok, and we've already done this a little bit, so we won't spend a ton of time on it. But this is for, obviously, for being on the phone. This doesn't really help you that much, but certainly we see this in Volie in our SMS logs and in our emails, where the customer will ask for something, or they will make an initial contact. Oftentimes it's on an outbound call. So one of our agents, they pick up the phone, they call the customer doesn't pick up the phone, but they immediately text them back. And it was a non-multilingual agent that was the customer that placed the phone call. And immediately they get the text back in a language that the agent doesn't speak. And so this is an easy way for you to start generating those responses to the customers if you don't have multilingual agents on staff or maybe on shift that particular shift. And we know that this isn't going to be perfect. We know it's not going to be good as a native speaker, but the data shows that if you can respond within the first 15 minutes to the SMS, you're more likely to engage that customer in a conversation, more likely to set the appointment. So we'll just do this really quickly. Go back to Grok, and I have customer.
Peter, we have a great question here before you hit go.
Okay.
Or I guess finish typing the question. Finish typing the question, and then I'll read it to you, and then you can answer and then hit go.
So this was a real scenario. Well, I was on a site visit a few weeks ago. It turns out the customer was extremely upset about something that had happened at the recent service visit and or at their last service visit, and was no longer willing to do business with that particular dealership. So probably happens a lot. But in this case, this particular BDC had no one on that current shift that spoke Spanish. And so they used ChatGPT to translate the incoming message, and then used it to translate their response to this customer. So Jake, what was the comment or question?
So the question on this is, we currently use Google Translate. How does this compare to using Google Translate?
Oh, it's a great question. It's one that I don't have an incredible amount of experience in. I would say in general, Google's Translate, I believe, now uses their Gemini service as its backend, and so I strongly suspect that they're probably at parity. I can't speak to it definitively, but it is a great question. Here's an experiment that you can do. Do some experiments and provide the same statements to both of them and see which one that your native speakers appreciate and would think is more regionally appropriate. So I'm sorry I can't answer it, but my answer to it would be run some tests on your own. It would take you 10 minutes, and I bet you would either find they're exactly the same and continue to use Google Translate, or one is clearly better than the other. So in this case, Grok came back with a response that I can't read or understand. Jake, maybe you probably don't want to take a stab at it either, but it's maintaining that this is a polite and empathetic tone, and encourages the customer that there is someone at the store that cares about them and wants to make it right. So again, just a really quick example. We could do hundreds more. We see these all the time in our BDCs and in our SMS and email logs, where the response that is needed is not going to be in the agent's native language. And so this is a great way. Again, this is a feature that we're rolling out in the communication center in Volie this quarter, but it will be if you use some other tool, or if you use a desk phone or your CRM or whatever, this would be a great way for you to provide immediate and quick responses. Maybe not perfect, but certainly a way for you to facilitate communicating with these customers that are not interacting with you in your agent's language of preference. So Jake, I'll move on to the last one if we've got nothing else.
We did have another person asked if you still have it up, that rebuttal training prompts that the ChatGPT had generated. If there's any way to get a copy of that.
Oh, of course. ChatGPT makes it really easy. I think this won't be nice or formatted. Jake, I'm assuming if I just put it in the chat, everyone will get it.
Yeah, I think Peter, why don't you ask it to save it as a PDF, and then we can share that out as well. If you all recall from the prior session, this is something cool that you can have it do, is spit out a PDF download for you, so you can take it from here easily in one document.
Yep, so this will lead me, the reason that I switched to Grok and kept this chat history here is this will lead us to our last example. While this is analyzing and doing its thing, I will tell you that I do this with my kids all the time. Probably drives them nuts. If they're pestering me about questions with their math homework or science or some section in US history that I must have fallen asleep on in college, then I will have ChatGPT put together a lesson in their appropriate grade level. And oftentimes I will have it create a game out of it, or a question and answer game out of it. And the reason I wanted to keep this in ChatGPT is because ChatGPT, and certainly the others, but you can even do this on ChatGPT's app if your agents download that, if you allow it, not condoning or endorsing anything, but if you allow your agents to have access to it, one of the fun things that these LLMs have introduced is the ability to dictate to them and answer them and converse with them with your voice. So you don't have to have, the agents don't have to type it in. They can echo the responses out to ChatGPT. They can interact with it via voice. And it's a very interesting way of having your agents be able to speak to it and have it evaluate not only what they're saying, but other things that are included. This works across languages. So if your agents want to speak Spanish or Mandarin or whatever the language that they need help with, they can certainly do it that way. So we've got the PDF here. I will download that and send that out after the call is over, Jake, so you can get it in the notes. And we'll go with our last exercise. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to make an interactive game to help train agents on these rebuttals. So I'm going to say, so the game is going to be this. We're going to have ChatGPT object to us. We're going to provide our response, and then it's going to evaluate or grade our response according to the training. So we can do this in the response pattern that we talked about last time. So we'll see if it understands. So it's excited. It used an exclamation point. We're going to play the rebuttal role play game. You can use this in combination with the persona pattern if you want to do it to help your kids with their homework. So you could say something like, act as a third grade teacher if your kid's in third grade, and I want you to come up with a fun math game. My kids' interests are, Legos, animals, and fishing, and it can come up with an interactive game for you, for your kids. But in this case, it's going to be your agents, and maybe we don't need to have it act like any of those or include stories about fishing, but this is going to be a very interactive way that you can help your agents nail down their skills without having role play. If you're role playing time, if they team up with a team lead or one of the other agents, this would be a great way for you to onboard new agents and help existing agents do better as you're doing your QA with them. Okay, so it's saying, I don't want to schedule anything right now. It's just not a good time. And it's your move. So the first one, we're going to type back our response. The second one, we're going to use ChatGPT's dictation. I may get an F here, but hopefully all of this time in visiting you guys out at your BDCs, I've picked up something. I don't know. It says I did a good job. I get a star, Jake. So ready for the next exception. I need to talk with my spouse before I schedule anything. So in this one, we're going to use the dictation feature of ChatGPT. And again, it's not the only one that has this feature, but it's the one that I am most familiar with how it's going to interact. And so rather than having this explode in my face, we'll give it a whirl, and we will see how it does. And in this case, I'm not even going to try to fake it because I can't think on my toes that quickly. So I'm going to intentionally botch this one. So when I get an F, Jake, just know I'm trying to get an F. So in order to use the dictation feature, we just hit this little button down here. It's going to ask me for permission. It actually might not, because I think I've already granted it, but we hit this dictation feature. It's going to then turn on my microphone so that I can talk with it, just like you're talking with Siri or any of your other digital voice assistants. Okay, that's fine. You know what? Why don't you just call us back after you've talked with your spouse? So it heard what I said.
At least you were still polite.
Yes, it gave me points for being polite. So not a total F. So you can read the feedback here, and it's telling me I did what a lot of beginning agents do. They say, oh boy, yeah, the customer said no, so I better get them off the phone as fast as possible before they yell at me for trying. So here it's giving me feedback, not incredibly detailed feedback. I might like to see more, and I could ask it for more here. But it's going to just keep moving through these rebuttals and seeing how I handle them. And again, if your agents don't want to type that much, they can use the dictate feature. There's also some other features within ChatGPT that you could explore if you really wanted to. So one of the things that ChatGPT has is it has these voice modes. And in the voice mode, you're going to totally interact with it with your voice. And you can choose the persona and the voice, just a lot like you can do with Siri or any of your other phone assistants. But you can choose the persona and the voice and the way that it's going to respond to you. And then you're totally interacting with it with just what you're saying. And that's a good way of maybe practicing with it for some of the tonality things that you're looking for from a training perspective. But also, it's just a great way for your agents maybe that don't have the best typing skills. They can either use the dictation or the voice mode. And again, this is all in the name of making training fun, making it interactive, making it so that you're not tying up a team lead when you're doing your initial role playing and onboarding. So great way of not only providing the initial list in a PDF, and we'll send that out, but as a way that you can create a game. And again, I use this with my kids all the time. I've used this myself if I want maybe to learn a new programming language or learning about some event that I heard about on a podcast. I will use this to maybe learn about the Battle of Gettysburg and a way to interact with it in things in my personal life as well. So Jake, are there any final zingers that anybody has sent in, or maybe we just open it up now for anybody to, let's see if we can help them while we're on the phone. Again, like I said, if there's not much, we'll get out of class early, but if there's, I'm happy to stay as long as I can to help people with whatever they have.
So we have two questions that have come in on this section, and they're both asking the same thing, but can you walk through how you would do this in practice? How would you, BDC manager, get your rep to sit down and do this? Would you email them the prompt and have them enter it and start it? Would you sit down at their desk or call them into your desk to do it? How would you physically do it?
So we've seen it done two ways. The first way is some of our BDCs have dedicated training sections where they'll have a workstation set up that has the setup, but it's kind of off to the side. And usually there's the yoked headset there in a specific training location. I can think of a couple of our stores that have these kind of off in the corner where it's where they onboard new agents or where they send agents to maybe do manufacturer training, or maybe it's two team leads that are huddling and they're working on a specific word tracker script. So I've seen it done that way. And in that way, the manager would simply put in the prompt and then ask the agent to go through it. Now, of course, this isn't a full-on e-learning platform. It will never take the substitute. I shouldn't say that. It's likely not going to take the substitute for a systematized learning platform like Coursera or Udemy, where they have tests and quizzes and things like that built in, and you can give your agents assessments. It's not that, but it's an on your honor for the agents that want to get better. We've seen it done those two ways, where they will either pull it up on one of their training machines and just ask the agent to go through it. And maybe they come up with a prompt, again, using that response pattern where we're telling it to feed the agent one thing at a time. Maybe we come up with a prompt that has a few of these things chained together. So it would be script training game, rebuttal training game, manufacturer training game, and dealer policies training game. And you could have it mix and match those in kind of a review fashion. So that's one way to do it. The other way that we've seen it done is the managers just have the agent pull it up on their other, their monitor, and they give them a 15-minute break on the clock, and they go and they do that training right there at the agent's desk. Again, it's on your honor. Built into the prompt, you could build in some accountability assessment things like, when this is done, please save the entire thing as a PDF, or please save only the incorrect responses as a PDF for me to make a review sheet. So we've seen people do that. Again, I've done that with my kids. I've done that with other folks. I've trained other BDC managers to do that, where at the end of this assessment, you say, highlight the things that I did wrong and help me create a review guide for those. So those are the two ways in general that we've seen them do it. I've seen in some group training sessions where they will either do a Zoom, or if you have a training room, if you're all located in the same physical location, some of these they will do almost as a group for training on new policies. For example, one of our stores, when they remodeled their service department and got a bunch of new bays, they had new capabilities. So they wanted to get the agents up to speed on those new capabilities. So it really just depends on how your training facilities are set up, but it can be as simple as pull this up on the agent's machine and have them do it at their next break.
Sounds great. Yeah, those were the questions we had at the moment. Let's definitely take a minute and see if any others come in here. Any other closing thoughts here, Peter, on these types of prompts?
Yeah, I guess just to wrap up, Volie is committed to making your BDCs better, whether it's inside of the application with features that we release, whether it's with new materials from our customer success department and helping you move your BDC forward, or if it's just helping you through some of these stumbling blocks with some of these newer technologies. We know that you're under pressure from your managers and your dealer principals, and if you're part of a group, your ownership group, to figure out ways to incorporate AI into your daily workflow. You're under pressure to reduce turnover, get staff up to speed faster, et cetera. And we're committed to helping you with that, whether it's within the application or not. It's why I wanted to do this webinar series. I hope it's valuable. I hope you get something out of it. As a lot of you who reached out to me after the last webinar know, that I am absolutely willing to do one-on-ones with you if you need help on something specific, or maybe something that's more sensitive in nature, whether it's with data, et cetera, data manipulation. But I'm always happy to help. If you need anything in terms of ideas for how to incorporate these, or if you have a real problem that you've been trying to solve, one of our stores had some really, what I'll say, nasty Excel manipulation that they needed to do for their group level reporting, and help them through how to solve that using the LLMs and some Excel magic. So certainly, personally, I'm available to those of you who are on this webinar. Also, our CS department knows how to get in touch with me if you need help. And it's also something that we're committed to as a company. As a company, we are every day looking for more and more ways of integrating these LLMs and the new AI tool set, not only into our product as product features, et cetera, but also into our day-to-day company operations, so that we can do more with less, which then allows us to do more for you, our customers.
So we have a question came in. How would you handle it? So that example you saw where they had to translate into Spanish, how did that work with the actual speaking of it, in terms of people, they have the words written out, but how did they communicate it?
Oh, yeah, this was in an SMS. The example that I shared was agent called the customer, left a message in English, customer texted them back in Spanish with their response. So that was a pretty specific use case, but we see it in the data all the time, where it depends on the location, but between 3 and 15% of your outbound phone calls, instead of generating a phone call back, will generate an SMS back. And you all do it all the time. You get a call from a number and you text back, I'm in a meeting, I can't take this right now, what's up? So that was where this specific example played out. It was in a voice call where the customer didn't pick up, but then they responded in Spanish in an SMS.
So then to extrapolate that, what would you do if you have someone on the phone? Do you have any thoughts or tips if you have someone on the phone who you're struggling to communicate with?
Our best practice there is to either transfer to or to a Spanish speaking team or agent within your BDC, or to go grab a neighbor. I've seen a bunch of our folks do this at our stores where there will be one person in every row that's multilingual if the area isn't predominantly multilingual, and they go have them jump on the phone to try to get the customer's needs met. Unfortunately, I wish, but unfortunately, the LLMs don't help the agent in that case.
Well, they certainly can't help you live, though. Just to say, someone who maybe has partial Spanish in them, it could give a boost, right?
Yep.
So, well, good. Well, those are the questions we've had come in, Peter. I think let's take, I guess, another minute or two, get to the hour, see if any questions come in, and if not, then we can wrap and give everyone some time back. And I think that these are really exciting new tools that we can't possibly think of all the ways that they can be utilized, but we want to help you figure out how to make it work for you, right? Generate the prompts that will work for you and your business. So, if for example, you're trying to generate something like that first prompt you did, Peter, you didn't tell it that you were a Toyota dealership. It just kind of spit out insert Toyota vehicle here, right? So
Yep.
some of these things, getting them fine-tuned to spit out what you want is not always as simple as you would think.
Certainly. Yeah, and that is the point of the prompts. It's very rare, even with as much practice and even formal classes and training that I've had on this, it's very rare that I get what I want on the first try. I would say on average, it takes me 3 to 5 attempts. If I'm really solving a specific problem, it takes me 3 to 5 attempts to get exactly what I want, refined as I need it. And maybe it begets more prompting, but it is very rare that I get exactly what I want on the first try. All of the prompts that I went through today, I practiced and refined for this particular presentation. And that's not to say that you have to do the same level of homework, but it's just to say that even someone who does this a lot every single day, I'm having to take multiple attempts at it.
Darn, I pulled a classic Zoom.
You did. No Zoom would be complete without it. So
darn it, we almost made it
the
through.
box.
Well, to be fair, I'm sitting in a public space trying to not have the background noise, so I keep muting, but I was so close. Just a question, can we email the recording? This will be on our YouTube later this week. Probably on Friday, we'll get it posted. So you can catch it there and then watch it again.
Yep. And also to summarize, I will send the PDF out with the notes, and I will also include the PDF that I referenced last time and at the beginning of today's presentation on the prompt pattern. So we'll make sure that we keep a library of these things available to all of the attendees.
Sounds great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We hope that you found it valuable. We know that Peter is eager to walk through some of the things that he's learned, and it's definitely pretty neat. So thank you all very much for joining. We hope you all have a fantastic day, and we will see you next time.
Have a wonderful day.